Hey guys, I'm here with Ibrahim Moustafa. Would you like to say hello?
Hello.
So we usually have people, when we have them on our show, kind of give us their comic book origin story, like how you got into comics and stuff. So if you want to talk a little about that.
How much time do we have? So I was always into comics as a little kid. Superman was like my jam, right? And then Ninja Turtles. So I had comics growing up, and then I kind of fell out of them. I got into breakdancing and soccer and whatever when I was younger, and then Smallville came on, and somebody gave me a book that was like the complete history of Superman, and it had Alex Ross paintings in it. And I'd never seen anything like that before. And I was like, wait, you can do that? Like, you can have like realistic looking, So then I kind of started to reverse engineer what he was doing from there. I was like, oh, it's watercolor. No, it's actually gouache. And then I started taking a painting class and learned about that. And at the same time, I started picking up whatever comics work of his I could find. And then eventually that led me to different writers and artists. And I'd always been drawing my whole life. So I kind of figured like, hey, I want to actually do this. And then from there, it was just kind of like a really long process of learning about it, research, and really the most important thing, like sitting down and putting in the work for hours and hours and hours. So, and then eventually, through meeting different people and collaborating with different people, I eventually met Chris Sabella, and we did High Crimes, and that was kind of the thing that really launched both of our careers and put us on people's radar. So,
cool. So Superman is kind of how you got into comics. That's pretty cool. I feel like there's kind of some Superman hate sometimes, and it makes me sad.
I didn't ask me about that because we'll be here for another,
Mannix is the same way.
I have opinions.
So you talked about working with Chris Sabella on High Crimes. He had mentioned when we interviewed him that he thought some of the art would be sort of difficult with some of the like mountains and snow and stuff. Was any of it very difficult for you, or just had to just sit down and put in the work, or?
A little of both. I kind of found ways to, like, okay, this is how I'm going to draw mountains, and then I just kind of kept steady with that. The most difficult part was trying to be faithful and accurate to the actual locations. So there was a lot of like research involved with the geography of it all and the equipment, because our hope was that this would eventually transcend comic book readers and make it to maybe climbing enthusiasts and stuff like that. So I wanted it to be the type of thing we both did where somebody could look at it and say, oh, I have that backpack, or like, that looks accurate to me. And so, yeah, that was the most difficult part, just, and drawing a lot of tents, a lot of backpack straps, a lot of climbing at, there's a very meticulous equipment and lots of it that is involved with this stuff. So that was probably the toughest part.
Cool. Do you have any like upcoming projects you want to talk about, or are you just kind of focusing on like working on this stuff, or?
Yeah, so, and first the High Crimes hardcover just came out, so that's available. I just did issue 12 of The Flash Season 0, which was, this wraps the season, the first arc. It basically takes place in between episodes of the show, and they really do read like an episode basically, and Phil Hester did the bulk of the first 11 issues, I believe, and then I just did this last one. I've got an issue of Godzilla and Hell coming out on October 16th, which is like it's kind of an anthology, like each issue is its own story. And then I've got some covers. I did some variants for Dr. Fate for DC. I did covers for Escape from New York 11 and 12. Ninja Turtles, Lifelong Dream, number 52 variant cover coming out. And then I'm currently working on a new image series with Kyle Higgins, which we haven't announced anything about yet just because it's still kind of early on and we're world building and all that. So yeah, that's kind of staying busy.
That's awesome. What are some of your favorite series that are running right now in comics?
It's kind of a tricky thing because when you draw them, you have way less time to actually read them. So I'm not reading as much as I would like to. Saga, of course, it's on everyone's list. It's amazing. Let's see. Scalped is my all-time favorite comic. So I always tell people, if you haven't read Scalped, go pick it up. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. Oh gosh, let's see. Batman's been really great consistently. Shudder by Joe Keating and Layla Del Duca is fantastic. And that's always like the $1 million question, like, you know, what comics? Yeah, and I'm sure as soon as we part ways, we're like, oh, there were 10 other ones I should have mentioned, but for now, yeah, we'll stick with those.
Cool. What comic book character would you want to spend the day with?
Oh, probably Superman, just because that's my guy, you know. It would probably feel weird, but I would be like, hey, can we fly? Like, can you read my mind? You know, I like pink, right?
And where can people find out more about you and your arts?
I have a very simple URL, which is www.theartofibrahimmustafa.blogspot.com. I'm on Twitter at Ibrahim_M_. I had to throw the underscores in because there's a lot of Ibrahims on Twitter, but it's IBRAHIM. That's where I usually put the most like current, you know, like desk shots of pages I'm working on, or like new prints or sketches or whatever. So it's probably the best place to keep up.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.